Hello all, this is Electric Wolf, and today I want to talk to you about APIs. An API, it stands for an Application Programmable Interface, and it allows websites to gather information from the back-end servers as a simple request. And a lot of websites use this. Imagine things like the number of likes that you have on an image or a video, or the number of comments and the details of those comments. They could all be retrieved from the back end by using a simple API request. The one I'm going to show you today is an exchange rate API. It's extremely basic. There's no setup required for this. You can basically just use it. The only thing you will need to do is sign in to this site, and I'll provide the links below, in order to get your key. And you'll see from what I'm going to show you, my key is hidden because I don't want anybody to use my details. So let's have a quick look. Fortunately, this document here has got everything you need. So it's got example code and it's got an example structure. Now, a lot of the time you don't always get this structure in such a nice and pleasant way. This is really good. This is really useful. But I'm going to ignore some of this in order to show you how to retrieve extra data in order to set this data up yourself. So that's an example of a response you would get. So let's have a look on the code side. So I've got an application here. It's what it's doing. It's building up the URL that it's going to call. This is basically just a HTTPS request string. Sometimes you can have additional data in here, but this is just a dead end, an endpoint. You'll notice within this, I've got my API key. This is totally hidden. Like I say, that's my personal key. I don't want to share that. You would have your own and you would use that. And it's what this is going to do. It's going to request the exchange rate for the US dollars. And US dollars is going to be its base sum, and it's going to be how other currencies differ from that base. And is what we're going to use is WebClient. So what this is doing, this is going to go off and make that request for us. And then we're just going to get the JSON back. Now this JSON is going to be in a pure JSON format, and we're not going to be able to process it directly, and that's what I'm going to hopefully show you today. So let's just run this bit of code. Should be terribly quick. And I've got a breakpoint set here, and you can see here there's JSON. If I display it as a text file, this is the format you're going to get back. And as you saw, that basically matches what we had on the website. And it's got all the different currencies you could be interested in. In order to convert this into a C# model, you can take this, copy it, all of it, close that, end the program, and then I've got a folder called model. Within here I'm going to add a new item. I'm just going to call it rates. I'm going to add that, and I've got this class which I don't actually need, so let's just get rid of that. And then I want to create a C# class, a model from that JSON, and the way to do that is you come into edit, you select paste special, and you choose paste JSON as classes, and obviously you can see here there's an XML version as well. So if we just do that, it's done the whole thing for us. So you don't need to convert the data that you have and swap it around. It's just there as you needed it. So what I am going to do is change this root object, which is like a default name. I'm going to call it exchange rate response, and I'm also going to change the file name to match as well, so it's all linked. And then if we go back to our API requests, now we've actually got the JSON file, we can do the conversion, and this is casting it. This is using the JSON conversion tools, which is from Newtonsoft. It's just a nugget package you would have to include, and you can see here we're taking that JSON file and we're converting it to an exchange rate, and then we're going to use that just to display some details. So let's have a quick look at that. Yep, that's fine. So here we're going to display the base code, and then we're going to display the ratio, the currency for Great British pounds, and then the European currency as well, euros. And there we go. That's what we've got. So I'm telling you the base is that, and then Great British Pounds is basically its value compared to a US dollar. So that's all good, but there is one small issue with this and the way it's been created, and I can demonstrate that by just changing this code. So let's run this again. In fact, let's do it both at the same time. But I'm actually going to request that the Great British Pounds is our base currency, and I want us to display the US dollars, USD. And again here. And the great thing about this here is all the currencies are listed because of the way the model's been generated, so it's really easy access. So now I'm expecting this to fail. So let's have a see how it fails. So bang, it's gone. So it's on this second request where we got Great British Pounds, and it's struggling with the conversion, the kind of casting down to our objects. And it's saying here that the conversion rate, the USD, at a certain position, is not a valid integer. Well, going by the values we had earlier, they weren't integers, they were decimal. So let's close that and stop the code and have a look at the data, and you'll see the issue. When it created this class for us, it was using the information it had at hand, and at the time USD was 0. Sorry, no, it would have been 1. So it didn't know if that was an integer or a double or a float. It had no way to tell. All the other values, they had decimal points in, so they knew it was at least a float. So the best way we can do now is change this to a float. Oops. And just rerun the project. There you go, it's worked. So if we're using a base value of Great British Pound, a US dollar is higher than a Great British Pound, which is the exact opposite of what we had earlier. So that all matches. So one last note about these API requests. This is just using the web client. It's a terribly simple way of setting this data up and sending it off. Hopefully I'll do another example at some point where we're building it up with more details, but that'll be later. All the links are in the description below, and hopefully you find that interesting. Thank you very much.